Hi, this is Charles from Wonder Unit. Here I want to explain to you a new feature that we have in Storyboarder called Shot Generator. So I guess the best thing to do is just show it to you. So if you create a new shot, you can basically see this thing in the upper right hand corner called Shot Generator. Just click open. And that's going to open this new window, which is the Shot Generator. Shot Generator is basically really easy to use scene editor. You can add characters, objects, set up a camera, and then insert that shot back into Storyboarder. So like if you can't draw, you might find this really interesting. But even if you can draw, it's kind of interesting because you can do some very quick shot layout and setup. So why don't I just sort of show you how it works. So if I open something up, I can add a character, move it around to where I want it. I could maybe rotate it a little bit and then just save it to the board. And so now if I go either close this window or minimize the window, I can see that this is now a new storyboard. I can create a new shot, open up Shot Generator, and then let's add a new character, and this time let's make it an adult female, and let's just put it over here and rotate it a little bit, and we'll save this shot, and we can see that now we have a new shot. So we have one shot here and another shot there, and if I take her and I move, I move her over here, and then I click Insert New Shot, there's a new board that's added, so it's basically as if she walked across the screen with a camera pan. All right, to explain the interface, we have the bar on the top here, we have something on the left, and then this in the middle, and then something on the bottom. At the top here, we have a couple buttons that allow you to add cameras, objects, characters, lights, and volumes. Lights and volumes, you pretty much will not really add all that much, but I'll explain how they work. Clicking Save to Board, like I just showed you, saves to the current storyboard that you have selected, and inserting a new board will insert the current shot after the board that you have selected in Storyboarder. On the left-hand side here, we have a top-down diagram of the shot. And so it's sort of like a camera plot or a camera diagram or lighting diagram. So if I add characters here, I can just kind of move them around. If I add an object, I can move these objects around in this top-down view. And the other cool thing is that I can maximize this view. So now I have my camera plot here, and I can move the camera around however I want. I can move this, basically move anything. So let's go back to here. Over here on the left-hand side, on the top section, and just this section here, we have every object that's in the scene. So we have the scene itself, we have the camera, the first character, and the second character, and this object that's right here. And so let me add another object here, another object. And so now we can see that we can scroll through, and to select these objects pretty simple, you just click and select. All right, on the below this list, whatever selected item that you have, you can edit the parameters for it. So if you want to manually move a thing around, you can change its X position, its Y position, or even its Z position, which basically puts it above and below the floor. Controlling these control boxes pretty easy. You can basically just hold down, you basically just click and drag, but if you want fine-grained control, you can hold down Option or Alt on Windows, and that'll give you a really sort of fine-grained control. And then if you ever wanted to go back to 0, you can just click or hold down Shift and click it. So pressing Z will put me back to 0. Rotate, rotate the characters. I can change the height of the character, which is pretty cool. I can change the head size, which makes it sort of comical. And then I can also change the morphs of the individual model. So let's say I want a very, muscular person. I will change the ecto slider, and now I have a muscular character, even though it should not be called ecto, because that would be, anyways. Meso will change it to be very skinny, which is also incorrectly named, but we'll fix that. And then obese, which is interesting. And you can blend all these together, which is cool. But before I get too deep into it, I want to move on to a couple other properties well, actually, you know what? I'll just continue explaining what the user interface looks like. So in the center here, we have the main camera view. And how you control it is basically just click and drag, and you kind of pan around. And then if you need to move the camera, you're probably going to want to move the camera. WASD, if you have your fingers on those keys, when you press W, that moves you forward. When you press S, it moves you back. A to the left and D to the right. So you basically just keep your hands on these keys. And then to the right, on the key R and F, R will basically bring the camera up, and F will bring the camera down. And so it will lock to the floor. So basically you can bring it down, and then, if I wanted to, I can change the field of view of this camera to something super wide. But really whatever you want to do. Okay, at the bottom of the screen here, we have some information. So I can see that I'm using camera 1. It's 22 millimeters, and this f-stop is also fake. It's not set properly yet. I can see the height of the camera. So if I want to bring the camera up to about eye level, I can do that. I can see the distance to the nearest character, which is 13 feet in real space here. And I can also turn on and off guides. So here's my centerline guides, my thirds, and then an eye line, which shows you the top quarter, the top third, and then the top half with lines in between the two, which is kind of cool. All right, so let's see. I went through keyboard commands, but just to really drive it home, W, S, A, and D. R and F go up and down, and then you can do Dutch angles with Z and X, and they sort of snap so it doesn't get crazy. And then another really cool thing you can do is you can change the lens. So they'll snap to sort of standard lens types. So you can see here's 85, the next one's 100, 120. But if I want to go back to like a 22 millimeter, I can quickly just, and I'm pressing the bracket keys. So open bracket and close bracket will zoom in. And that's basically like a kind of fixed zoom length essentially. Another useful key command is to copy. So if I have this woman here, I can press Command D or Control D on Windows, and that just duplicated this character, which is pretty cool. I can also take a selected box and then press Command D, and that will duplicate it as well. So let's see. Let's go back to some of the properties. Well, let's do this first. So let's save this as a new board. We can see that we have this kind of let's see, we have a blank board here, so we'll delete that. So now we have some sort of really garbage scene that we've created here. And so let's open this shot again. So we have this shot. It's opened, and let's make some changes. So let's say we don't want this to be a box. We want it to be a chair. So we can go over the object properties on the left here. We can change that to a chair, which is pretty cool. And then we can, let's say we want this lady to sit in the chair. So we might move her over the chair and then change her pose to, let's see, sit in chair. And let's rotate her to 0 and then drop to the ground here. And now we have her sitting on the chair. Well, actually, she's not sitting on the chair. We're going to, yeah, there we go. Cool. And there we go. So now we have her sitting on the chair. Let's say we want to change this object into a tree. So there's a tree, and we can move that into the back so it's in the frame. Let's take this object, and we'll turn this object into a car. And we'll move that somewhere back there. So let's add a new object. And what's cool is you can also add custom objects. So I have some models that I modeled in Blender. And so let's say I wanted to, let's say objects. I want the sofa chair that I just modeled. I can take this and move it around. And now I have a sofa chair in here. And this is a custom model that I imported. Let's see. What else can we do with custom or with the properties of objects? Let's see. Oh, I want to show you the scene properties because that's interesting. So every shot generator scene essentially has one scene property. It's all the way at the top of the list, and if you click on it, it has its own properties. And so you can have the ground and turn the ground on and off. You can change the background color to really whatever you want. If you turn the ground off, you can turn the room on. And so like this is a pretty it's a pretty easy way to make a small room if you want to, or a large room. So let's just make let's see, wait, what am I doing here? So let's make a quite a large room. So make that big, and then ceiling kind of high. And so now we have this this room that is let's see, what are the dimensions? 108 feet by 124 feet by 38 feet tall, which is pretty cool. Other thing we can do is we can load a custom model that will essentially be a environment. So for example, let's just try that. I'm gonna load a file here. Let's see if I have an environment that I've already modeled. Here's a kind of crappy model that I made really quickly, but it's essentially a like a big Mayan ziggurat. And so here it is. It's very crudely modeled, but you get the sense of what it's like. What's cool about this is that if you're shooting something in a studio, you could model out to exact scale the studio so that you know how you have to set up everything in the studio. And you can manually scale the environment down if you want, or bring it back to 1. And then you can also rotate the environment around. So if you are adding a environment in after the fact, it's pretty easy to do. But let me insert that as a shot. So we got that as a shot. So let's see, anything else? Oh yeah, so we got two broad lighting properties of the scene. One is the ambient light, and then the other one is the directional light. If I bring down the directional light, this is just the ambient light is this sort of flat light that is basically nothing. So if I bring both the lights down, there's no lighting whatsoever except the background is white. let's see. So what I want to do, let's see, maybe I want to bring down the intensity of the directional light and then bring up the ambient light, and this will be like a dusk or something like that. But you can play around with it, do whatever you want. Okay, quickly I will explain how you can add custom lights. So if I click on add light, here's a light that I can move around. So if I want, I can put this light over this character to really accentuate this character. Let me move my camera back to closer and nearby her. For me, well, let's see. So we put the lights in the shot. They're visible. So basically, if they're visible in the shot, they're visible in the shot. Like if you want the light out of the shot, basically just move it out of the shot. And let's see. Let's change the intensity here and the distance. And there we basically have a light here, and you can see where it's at. What else do I want to show? Okay, I'm going to show you volume. Volume's pretty interesting. They're basically volumetric effects. So I just added a volume. I'm going to move it over here, and I'm going to change the color to something black and the opacity to something big. And now we basically have rain here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select that volume and I'm going to change it to fog, for example. Now we have some fog. Now I can change the width, the height, and the depth of this fog. And it's basically volumetric effects. I can add layers. So essentially I can move around here. And what's nice about it is if you want a little bit of volume or texture or feeling in your shots, you can add these where appropriate. And they're pretty nice, and you can add as many as you want. So like let's say if I wanted to move this, where's the volume? It's right here. So I'm going to move this volume over here. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to move this volume over here and rotate this one. And yeah, you can, I don't know, you can be creative and do whatever you want. Okay, so there's that. Let's see. All right. So here's the important stuff, which is posing. So I showed you a little bit in that you can select a character, and then we have all these preset poses. So you can have character running, or you can have the character saying hi, or hands up, or something crazy like free fall. Let's maybe put her up there, and then, that's cool. So let's say we want something a little bit more custom. So let me add a new character, and let's rotate this character. And let's say I want to manually pose this character. So we came up with this system. It turns out it's super hard to rotate 3D objects in 2D space. And so we came up with this system so that essentially you can select a bone, and then you see this QR code here. If I just open my camera application on my phone, then point the camera at the QR code, and I open it up, it will take me to a website, and on my phone, and when I click on that website, I can basically rotate and move around the bones of this character. And what that allows me to do is essentially, select a bone, rotate it, select another bone. Let's see. Select a bone, rotate it. It's looking kind of a little weird, but whatevs. And then if I wanted to, let's say, have him look, back there, and then I want to click on this guy and have him look over there, and I want to have her look up at this dude, I can very quickly do that and be like, she's gonna put her arm out, reach out, maybe make her legs like more. But basically you can pose these guys however you want. I'm gonna make him be a little less daft. And then what's cool is you can save this pose as a preset. So you can be like, you can basically save it and be like, weird pose, and press OK. And now when I create a new character and I'm like, that super awesome pose I just made, I want him to also have weird pose. And so here he is with the weird pose. And essentially, wow, that's really not a good pose. But essentially what it allows me to do is create a library of poses. That's basically how it works. Now I'm going to close this and open up a new, a board that I've already made a bunch of interesting poses in, and I'll show you some more features. So here are just like a couple shots that I've generated using the shot generator. So I'm just kind of demonstrating, like here I set up sort of complex pose and had different volumetric effects and different lighting. Here I have a custom, actually I'll show you this. So here I have a custom custom character model. So you can load in a custom character model with its own rigging. And what's cool is like you can basically just pose anything. So right down to like if I want to change the flop of the ears or the let's see, is this gonna work? That's the tongue. That's not what I want to do. Is this gonna work? No, that's also the tongue. Basically I don't know what I'm doing exactly. Let's see. So yeah. So anyways, that's a feature. What else do we got? Just a few scenes of different poses that I made. I made wheelie kids, people falling with volumetrics, which looks pretty cool. Here's a shot of something from the movie we're working on. More poses. Anything else interesting? Let me show you this, which is kind of cool. So here we set up this shot and we added some volumetrics, and you can kind of see how sort of cheap it is. These volumetrics are really just textures, but they look nice, and so you can create any angle that you want. Let's see what we get. There we go. So I don't know, you can do some crazy stuff. Let's insert that as a new board. So we got, I don't know. Anyways, that's that. Let's see. So there's some things that you can't do yet that you'll likely want to do. So for example, currently if you change something, as long as you don't insert it into your board, it's fine. You can just close the window and then don't save it. But if you move something currently, there's no way to undo it. So you can't undo, redo. That's a thing we're adding. Another thing that really is kind of annoying is like, let's say I wanted to move everything here a little bit to the left. I'd probably want to do multi-select, but currently I cannot multi-select. But the idea would be I would hold shift and then click all these things, and then I can move it to the left or the right, and that would be really nice. I could also do copy and paste, multiple select, things like that. There's another thing, and that is a better way to select poses. The pose system currently, you add a pose preset and then you basically go and look it up. The problem is that I made all these poses and I can't even remember what they're all called. So it's kind of like guess and check, where you're basically going through each one and trying to like figure out which one is there. So we're going to make a new interface to allow you to select a pose in a much better way, which includes having thumbnails of those poses. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just really excited to get people to play with this and use it, and I'd love to see what people do. I also love to get any sort of feedback that anybody has as far as how to make this shot generator better. This is the first iteration, so yeah, that's about it. Thanks.